What up, world? Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. You already know what it is. Welcome to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. We got greatness in the building. The legendary Bobby Wade is pulling up for a fireside chat. Keep it locked. We'll kick things off real soon. Brother Bobby, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Don. How are you?
I'm fantastic. You're moving real slick with that live stream and joining and everything. I appreciate it. So Bobby, I don't know if you caught it, but this is what I was playing for the introduction today.
I heard it. Yeah, four walls and a window.
I see we got 6 on the line. We'll give it a couple more minutes to let everybody join.
Okay. What's the age? What's the age demographic of your crowd?
So I'm gonna go 30s to 40s and up.
Okay.
Yep. Shout out to Cadillac Zach. We see you on live.
Cadillac Zach?
That's my buddy. That's my buddy. Lots of people have been waiting for this moment right here. Got 5 on the line.
Is that light too bright above my head?
You know, it's okay. I can see you pretty good, Bobby.
Okay. Do I need to lean in?
Now, I really see you when you lean in like that, so that's good.
Okay, good. I'm stay right here. I may take a sip every now and then.
That's okay. That's okay. So, Bobby, if you're ready, I'll go ahead and kick things off.
I'm ready.
Sure. I want to welcome everybody to Waxvillain Fireside Chat. Fireside Chats are similar to interviews. However, we take the time to do the research so that we're not duplicating efforts. More importantly, we want to support and strengthen what's already out there. We got a lot of questions today. We got greatness in the house. I am joined by Mr. Bobby Wade. Now, my connection to Bobby starts like this. You know, it's because of people like Mike Noriega, George Miller Jr., Bob Abrahamian, that I was able to explore and discover music. And when I came across a song with the title 4 Walls and One Window, I was so moved that I needed to look and find who this artist was. And once I found who the artist was, I went and I bought the record. And I was still so moved that I said, I need to find this individual. I need to find out what led to him writing the lyrics to 4 Walls and One Window. And so I found Bobby on social media. We connected. And soon after that, I would discover that Bobby grew up in Meadville, Pennsylvania, and knew my family out there. And what I really think about is what an amazing thing this is, how it's all come full circle. It just happened to be Bobby's music that I heard that moved me so much to start this journey, to find the person behind the music and bring him here to Waxvillain for a fireside chat interview. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Bobby Wade. Bobby, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
So, Bobby, the first question I want to know is, what did you think when I reached out to you asking for an interview? What was going through your mind?
I, first of all, couldn't believe it. I didn't understand. I mean, we're talking about songs that I wrote way back in the mid to late 60s. So I was happy that somebody was still interested in them.
Well, the music is more relevant than ever before, and, you know, it moves people, and it's very meaningful. Very meaningful.
Yes.
Bobby, let's take it back to Meadville, Pennsylvania. Tell us how it all started with the music.
I started in high school with singing with different groups and different bands, doing high school shows and dances and stuff like that. And then I started when I was like about 15, 16. When I was 17, I started singing with a jazz group called the Cootie Harris Combo.
Yeah.
And I really learned how to sing real songs and how to phrase and everything. So that's where it started.
Okay. And just give us a little overview. Who's Cootie Harris?
Cootie Harris was a drummer. He'd been around a long time, and he played drums and vibes, and he always had a good band. And I just learned how to sing, and he was a family member. My brothers grew up with playing his music, and he taught them a lot. I have one brother that's a drummer, Billy, and a drummer that's a bass player. Brother that's a bass player, Ricky. So we learned a lot of music from Cootie, and one thing led to another.
Wow. Okay. Bobby, can you give us a lens into what the social landscape of Meadville, Pennsylvania was like back in the day? What was in style? What were you listening to? What were the crowds like?
We were listening to disc jockeys from Pittsburgh like Porky Chadwick,
Okay.
and we would get the 100,000-watt radio stations. They played all the doo-wop songs and early R&B. And so I started out singing by, covering songs by Frankie Lyman and Little Anthony and the Cadillacs, just
Right.
the old stuff. We'd stand around and learn how to harmonize, and we started doing shows.
Very cool. Very cool. When does music become serious for Bobby Wade? Describe the moment you knew that music was what you wanted to do, and when did you first taste a little bit of success, kind of giving you that feeling that this is going to work out?
Well, I first knew that I wanted to be an entertainer and a singer when I was like 5 years old.
Really?
Yeah, listening to the radio. I lived in New York City with my mother and father at the time.
Okay.
But anyhow, as I grew open, I listened to music and I learned how to phrase and everything like that. And one thing just led to another. And I mean, everything that happened to me in my life was preordained. Everything I asked God for, He gave me.
That's deep. Was it maybe a certain recording session? Was it a song that you heard? What was it that made you feel, though, that this is what I'm going to do with my time?
Well, we went to record a song called "You Don't Understand Me."
Hold on. We got to save that one.
Okay.
So I want to clear up some speculation about one of your records. In Discogs, it's listed as an unknown date. Some have made a guess on message boards. You released a 45 on a label called Marjan. The name of the song is "You Don't Understand." Can you tell us what year this was recorded, and what do you remember about the recording session that led to that song?
The song, as I said, I used to sing it with the Cootie Harris combo. Mm-hmm. And a lady, my wife's mother, my mother-in-law, Frida, worked as a housekeeper for a lady named Lorraine Uhas. And she liked my singing. I sang around town. I sang for all the benefits. And
hold on. We can't hear you right now. Try talking again.
You lost me?
Now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, but I'm hard to find. Somebody just sent me a text in. That's what might happen.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, yeah.
Well, I can hardly hear you. Hold on. Let's see. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So anyhow, we went down to Sharon, Pennsylvania, recorded the song. It came out. We printed up 1,000 copies, and we got a little bit of airtime. It was in Meadville, Pennsylvania. There was only one radio station.
Okay.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So that's how that started.
And what year was that record released?
That I got to hold my phone up because I can hardly hear you.
Okay.
That record was like, I want to say 1964, 65.
Okay, it was 64, 65.
Yeah, I can't hear you, Don.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Nope. I don't know what's happening with my sound here. I got my sound turned all the way up. Say again?
Is your finger by the speakers?
Nope. I'm holding the phone in my hand. I sit it back down so you can see me. I can hear you faintly, though.
How about now? I'll talk a little louder.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so what was going on? I need to know what's happening in your life between the recording with Marjan and the time that you get to Cleveland on Way Out. What were you experiencing? And the reason I ask this, Bobby, is because by the time you get to Way Out, it sounds like you have elevated your talents and your skill to a completely different level. Like you have come out of your shell and it's now your time. So what was going on in your life between Marjan and Way Out Records?
We lived in Meadville, Pennsylvania. My wife and I got married September of 1961.
Okay.
We had 2 children and 2 daughters. I worked at Channel Lock Tool Company. And that was from 1962 to about 1964 or 5. I don't remember.
Okay.
But I was working a machine that I'd stick pliers in, and it was a heat treat thing. and there was a window, and I looked out the window, and I could see the cars leaving Meadville on the freeway. And I said, watching the world pass me by. So I wrote Four Walls in a Window. It wasn't that at the time, but I said, as I stand here watching the world pass me by, knowing that no one cares if I live or die. That stuck in my head.
Wow.
So we moved to Cleveland. I got a job as a baggage clerk with the Greyhound bus station.
Okay.
I was riding down the street one day at Chester Boulevard. I saw a sign that said Way Out Records. So I took my 45 of You Don't Understand Me. I walked in and I said, my name is Bobby Wade, and I want to make a record. And a guy by the name of Lester Johnson came out from his office and said, let me hear what you got.
Right.
So I went back to the piano with two gentlemen named Johnny Washington and Rico Simmons, who at that time were the A&R artists, people at Way Out Records. I sat down and started recording and singing Four Walls in a Window. They jumped in and we finished it. Wow. We had to have a flip side, and I had another idea called Can't You Hear Me Calling?
Yeah.
We finished that. And that's how it all started.
Oh,
we went to Cleveland recording. About a week later, the session, and boom.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about Lester and Bill Branch. So my understanding is that Way Out Records was started for African-American music, that Lester and Bill, I believe it was Lester was maybe the hustler, and Bill was maybe a former police officer.
That's correct. Lester was a singer himself.
Okay.
Yeah, and Bill was a former policeman. They formed a record company. At that time, there was the National Negro Urban League.
Okay.
And they hooked up with Jim Brown, Leroy Kelly, Walt Roberts of the Cleveland Browns. Mm-hmm. And that's where they got their money from.
Okay.
And Jim Brown, they made a label called Big Jim Records.
Yes.
And my first recording was a song called Flame in My Heart.
Yes.
That I also wrote with Johnny and Rico. Right. That was the first recording.
And Can't You Hear Me? That was on the flip.
Yes. Can't You Hear Me Calling was on the flip side of 3 A-sides because I didn't have that many songs.
Okay.
So they kept using it as the B-side. Then one day, a disc jockey by the name of Rudy Green at WJMO in Cleveland flipped it over. So it started a 2-sided hit. Very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, did you, I also know that Way Out, it had Big Jim, and then there was also a gospel label, Boss, B-O-S.
Yes, I wasn't involved in that.
Okay.
That was a separate unit that I wasn't involved in.
Okay. Way Out had 37 releases in total on the label. Were you friendly with other artists that were recording for Way Out?
Yes, I was. It was like Motown in Cleveland.
Wow.
We had a storefront.
Yep.
And on the second floor, they had the studio.
Okay.
So all the groups would get together and just do background for each other and everything. That's how that all started. There's another song that I heard that you played was I'm in Love with You.
Yes, love that. Love that.
Now that song was recorded by Vern and somebody, and I never heard it. But one day Lester gave me the track. And I went into the studio and I made up what you hear now.
Oh my gosh. So Bobby,
but I never got credit for it.
That's insane because when I was listening to the songs last night, I said, who's the young lady singing the vocals on this? And that was when I realized it was Verna and Rob.
Right.
Yeah.
But I never really knew them.
You didn't?
No.
Wow.
See, by the time that song was released was in 1970 or 71.
Yes.
I had left Cleveland, and I moved to Las Vegas, and I didn't return to Cleveland for years. So they released a couple of songs after I was gone.
I was going to ask about that because when I look at the discography and then I was comparing it to the timeline of your story, I said there seems to be a break before that last record came out.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Can you talk a little bit about Lester and Bill's relationship? Because I read that people said they were a strange pairing together and that what really started the label was they were hoping to get a big hit so that they could leave their jobs. He wanted to leave the streets and Bill wanted to leave law enforcement. What can you tell us about those two?
I really can't tell you anything, Don, because I was close with them to them when I was in the studio,
Yep.
but socializing I never did.
Okay.
Because at the time I was working downtown Cleveland on Euclid Avenue at a club called the French Quarter.
Okay.
And I also worked downtown at a club called the Theatrical Grill.
Okay.
Which was kind of like the mob club.
Now we're getting to the good stuff. Keep going.
Yeah,
Bobby.
right. So I just recorded it way out, and I didn't socialize with the guys.
Okay.
But I was working at the Theatrical Grill, and a group by the name of the New Direction came in and saw me, and they asked me if I'd like to go to Las Vegas and take the place of someone who had left the group. And that was in December of 1970.
Okay. Oh, 70.
So
okay.
So in February of 71, I left Cleveland and I went to Vegas and I joined them on February 17th, 1971. And the following night, I was the opening act for Fats Domino with the New Direction.
Wow. That's something else. I want to go back to Cleveland for a sec. There were a lot of record labels in Cleveland and even more soul and funk musicians. Who are some of your friends? Who were the people that you were hanging around with at that time that were pretty big musicians in the Cleveland area?
At the time that I was doing the Way Out record thing, two guys by the name of Eddie Levert and Walter Williams, the OJs.
Yes.
And they were struggling to try to get another hit. They'd made a lot of records before then. So they were hanging out at Way Out Records. And when we did Blind Over You, they worked on that with me, but we didn't write it. But other than that, I didn't really socialize with the musicians or Bill or Lester.
Okay.
I just did my thing and tried to make a move.
Sure. Do you know why it was decided to put one of your records out on Big Jim as opposed to Way Out?
I think it was the inaugural release on Big Jim. And there was another group called the Occasions.
Yes. You were the only
that they
two
did on Big Jim.
to record on Big Jim.
But that's it. Then we never heard about Big Jim. Now, when I did Four Walls and a Window, they farmed it out to Deluxe Records.
Yes, tell me about that because I believe it was.
I didn't know anything about it, man. All I know is they sent that yellow one that you have, the yellow label. Yeah, that's the one. I went down to Way Out Records one day, and Lester said, "We switched you over to Deluxe Records." That's it. But here's the thing, man. There was really no contract or money involved.
What?
I mean, I signed a contract.
Yeah.
But they didn't pay anybody. Don't look shocked. A lot of record companies were doing that back in those days.
Okay, so there's no well, you said you signed a contract, but you really almost had no idea or control about where the music was going.
No. I'm really having trouble hearing you.
Let me get a little closer and a little louder. So, Bobby, let me ask this. When did you first see one of your physical records in your hand from Way Out? What was that like when you first saw it?
When Flame in My Heart came out,
yeah,
I went down to the office at Way Out Records, and I waited for UPS to deliver the package. And when they delivered, Lester and I both, we opened it up, and there was the first copy.
Wow.
Then there was a distribution company there. Guy's name was Don George.
Don George.
And Lester had Don George distributing all of his material.
Okay. Okay. Do you know how many records were pressed?
I don't. I don't even know how many records were sold.
Wow. What was the reception like back then when Four Walls and One Window came out? Can you talk to me about the radio scene, how people in the area were receiving it?
Oh, Four Walls and a Window was received very well. At that time, I was working. I was just trying to support my family.
Sure.
So I was singing downtown at night, and I was selling Prudential life insurance in the daytime.
Okay.
So one day, I'm with my district manager, and he's riding in my car out on my route, and I had WJMO on, and Rudy Green said, "This is Cleveland's own Bobby Wade with the number 10 record on the chart this week, Four Walls and a Window."
Oh, my gosh.
So I looked at my district manager and I said, "I quit."
What?
Yeah, I quit selling life insurance at that moment. And
Wow.
I went back. I went into show business full time.
That is incredible. I just can't believe I'm hearing the whole story come out in real time. I need like my soda and popcorn. This is great.
I sure wish that my sound hadn't gone down.
I'm sorry you can't hear me as well. Is this any
And
better?
I've got you turned up full blast.
Okay.
But are you seeing me?
I'm seeing you and I'm hearing you real good.
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
just keep my ears peeled on what you're asking me.
So let's talk about, there was a song that I believe it was, who from the OJs was on the background vocals? Was it for I Love
Blind
You?
Over You.
Blind Over You. Let's talk about Blind Over You. How did that come about?
Another thing, we walked in the studio. Hold on a second. Would you close those doors, please? Mm-hmm. We walked in the studio one day, and Lester said, "Here's a track, man. See what you can do with this." So I took it upstairs and started playing it, and Walt was there, Walter Williams,
Mm-hmm.
and we went, "Oh, that's a nice song." And one thing led to another. We went downtown to Cleveland recording. Eddie came in, we put the background together, and that was it.
What did Eddie say to you when you were recording, though?
Oh, it was Walter that said, but there was a high note that I had to hit, and I said, "I'm not ever going to be able to hit that note again." And Walter said, "You don't have to. Just hit that note now." Once it gets on the record, who cares whether you can hit it again?
That song is so fantastic. What was the inspiration, though? What were you thinking as you were getting in character and singing that song?
Nobody's ever asked me that, man. I never thought about getting in character. I just went in and sang the song.
Wow.
But I will tell you this. Every time I walked into the studio, into the booth, put the headset on, I've always felt that whatever I was about to sing had the potential of being heard by every ear on the planet. And it all came true.
Yeah, yeah. So how does Bobby Wade go from pumping out these hits in Cleveland to now having the opportunity to be part of Little Anthony and the Imperials?
When I was performing with the New Direction at the Flamingo Hotel in 1971, Richard Barrett, who started Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, and Clarence Collins, a member of the Imperials, were watching the show at the Flamingo.
Okay.
And my lead singer, my partner, was a girl named Terry Bryant. So Richard said to Terry about 2 months later, "Do you think Bobby would be interested in taking Kenny Seymour's place with Little Anthony and the Imperials?" And by that time, we were back in Cleveland working at the Theatrical Grill.
Okay.
And Terry came up and asked me that. I went to the phone. I called Little Anthony and the Imperials. And a month later, I was in Lake Tahoe joining the group.
Wow. So let me ask you this. When that phone call took place, did you go tell your boss at the Theatrical Grill that you quit?
No, you don't tell the mob you quit, man. You wait till your gig is over and you just leave.
Oh man, that's too good to be true. So you and I were talking about the video that's on YouTube where it's Little Anthony and the Imperials and Jim Croce introduces you. Now, I see the white suits and I see the dance routine and I'm thinking, you got to be in some pretty good shape to be moving like that for 3 minutes. Talk to me
Yeah,
about
we
the
were in good
transition
shape.
and what it took to be part of that group.
Well, I had never done choreography like that before.
Right. Okay.
Right. But the first month I was with the group, they were working at the Sahara Hotel as the opening act for the comedian Frank Gorshin.
Okay.
And I would sit and watch their show every night. And then every morning about 10 o'clock, we go down to the stage and they would rehearse me. And Sammy Strain, who was with the Imperials at the time, later became one of the OJs. Every time, and Sammy was standing next to me. So every time I would make a wrong step, he would stomp on my foot. So I got it right.
Wow. Wow. So did you prefer being a solo artist or did you like your time with Little Anthony and the Imperials better?
I liked both.
You liked both.
I liked both. Plus Little Anthony gave me the opportunity to sing many solos during our act.
Okay.
He always said, when I first joined the group, he said, Bobby, the guys had a meeting and they don't think that you're going to fit. And he said, but I told them that you're going to stay because I've always needed someone or wanted someone to take some of the weight off my shoulder. So that's when I started singing, songs on my own as a lead singer.
Wow.
And then we went with the Tom Bell and Tony Bell with Avco Records.
Yep.
And there are a few songs on the Hold On album that I do the lead on. And then after Anthony left the group to go solo, I became lead singer for the Imperials.
Okay. Okay. Why did the other band members or, the vocalists in the group think you weren't going to fit?
I never asked. As long as Anthony told me I was staying, I didn't care.
Was there camaraderie among the gentlemen in the group or not really?
We all got along just fine. And we still get along fine to this day.
Okay. Okay. So were you playing a lot around Vegas? Were you traveling the States? You cut an album. Talk to me about the time that you spent
with Little Anthony?
Yeah.
Oh, we traveled everywhere. We went everywhere, man. We Puerto Rico, we do Lake Tahoe. We traveled from coast to coast in this country, and we worked nonstop, and it was wonderful.
Wow.
So when I joined the group, I finally moved my family from Cleveland, Ohio, to Vegas, and we stayed there for 38 years.
Wow. And when does the residency at Caesar start? That's right around the time that it's Bobby Wade's Imperials?
Well, in 1975, when Anthony left the group, we went back to Vegas, and I started booking the gigs. They wanted it, the two guys said, can we stay together? I said, yes, we can stay together, but I'm going to handle all the business and book all the gigs. And that was how I became the lead of the group.
Okay.
And we traveled. We had many different agents in Vegas. And then we were working at the Dunes Hotel in the summer of, I want to say, 88. And we were working in a big showroom. It was a big lounge that held like 1,100 people, and it was on the corner of Flamingo and Las Vegas Boulevard.
Okay.
So the entertainment director said to me, every time that light turns green, 1,000 people are going to walk through here. So they put up a big stage and we stopped them. And then one night, a gentleman came in and said, would you like to work across the street at Caesar's Palace? And I said, sure. When shall we start? And he said, you start next Monday.
Wow.
but we were still working at the Dunes from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 6 o'clock in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went across the street to Caesars and worked from 9 o'clock in the evening to 1 o'clock in the morning. And we did that for 2 months.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Bobby,
Those things don't happen anymore in Vegas.
Was it hard to get to book gigs, doing it yourself?
Was it hard?
Were there any challenges, whether you were doing it in Vegas or Cleveland? I'm trying to understand what kind of challenges you might have faced as a musician.
I really never had any challenges. I just always found not a good agent, but a good agent would book you. A bad agent would book you, but wouldn't always pay you what you're supposed to get.
Okay.
I went through all of that.
Okay.
But then when I got to Vegas and I started working with the group, I became my own press agent. I wrote my own copy. And I started booking. If I had an agent that wanted to book me, I had to go a percentage with him.
Okay.
And as time went by, I started booking myself.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So at some point, there's the reunion. Little Anthony and the Imperials come back, and you relinquish the name, and now it's Bobby Wade and the Emperors.
I'm sorry, Don, I can't hear that.
I was saying, so at some point, Little Anthony and the Imperials, they have their reunion, and you relinquish the name, the Imperials, and now it's Bobby Wade and the Emperors. What can you tell us about the Emperors?
When Anthony wanted to get back with the Imperials, there was Clarence Collins, Kenny Seymour, and Sammy Strain, the basic original Imperials.
Right.
And I didn't go with them because they didn't ask me to. So
let me tell you something.
I was at Caesars.
Bobby, there's an article that says you declined the invitation.
Well, yeah, if that's what it says. So we're doing very well at Caesars Palace.
Yeah.
They even built a lounge for us. And the lounge was next to the Emperor's Club. So they had a name contest with the employees, and they came up with the Emperors. So we relinquished the name of the Imperials. But before we did that, I had to pay a 6% of every gig I played using the name the Imperials, which I did.
Wow.
And then when Anthony wanted to rejoin the group, we just said bye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So I know that there's a website online that talks about the Emperors. I think at one point you were selling CDs. There's a little bit of information. What happens as Bobby Wade and the Emperors come to an end? What's the next chapter of music for you?
We stayed at Caesars Palace from 87 until 96.
Wow.
We were doing 40 weeks a year there.
Wow.
But when we weren't working there, we were doing gigs other places.
So you were just always constantly performing.
Yeah, constantly performing. And we would do local television shows in Vegas. And we were very well known. And then around 1989, 90, Steve Wynn built the Mirage Hotel. And everything started to change then because the corporation started coming in.
Oh.
And they started changing up lounge entertainment. They didn't want to pay what they had been paying.
Okay.
So they found out that, for example, when the bean counters came into Caesars Palace and they looked at my contract and they said, why are we paying Bobby Wade $10,000 a week to shoot 2 shows a night, and we're giving him dressing rooms and free drinks and everything? They didn't realize that I had 7 other people that I had to pay. So they decided eventually to shut down the lounges and put in slot machines. And that's when Vegas started to change.
And what year was that around?
That was around 1993, 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very, very interesting. How would you describe it? You know, that you're in the time that you were in Vegas. What was it like when you were there compared to the 90s? It sounded like no big corporations. So who was running everything?
Well, if you know your history on Las Vegas was built by the mafia,
Okay.
and they were running everything.
Wow.
And then when the corporations came in, things changed. But we had no problem with them. All you had to do was do your show,
Sure.
be
Sure.
on time, draw in the crowd, no problem. You could have anything you wanted.
Okay. Bobby, you got to
Yeah.
give me a story from your time in Vegas. Is there any memorable stories?
Not without going to jail.
Give me something. Give me a funny story.
Oh my goodness, there's so many of them. One thing I will always cherish is the fact that having been with Little Anthony and the Imperials, they were in a level of the upper entertainers. So I got a chance to know everybody. I got a chance to meet Sammy Davis, Bill Cosby, Red Fox, Flip Wilson, Johnny Carson, you name it, I met them.
Wow.
And they would all, back in those days, the big, as we call them, big acts, headliners, would come into the lounges later at night. So we would do our shows from 10 o'clock to 2 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one night, Muhammad Ali came in, and we had just about to close the show, and he came in, took off his suit jacket, hung it on the chair behind him. He looked at Anthony and said, "Sorry, I missed it. Can you do it again?"
What did
And little Anthony
say?
turned around to the band and said, "Take it from the top." But that's the way Vegas was back in those days. Everybody mingled.
Who were you closest with? Was there any lasting relationships?
I'm very close still with the members of the OJs, especially Sammy Strain.
Okay.
There was a very big group in Vegas for years called the Traineers. And I'm still very close with this only surviving Trainier, my brother Skip.
Okay.
I was very friendly with Red Fox. We used to socialize. My wife and I had a home on the outskirts of Vegas at that time.
Okay.
And we would have barbecue parties, and everybody would show up.
Who's
we would
everybody?
have the annual Mother's Day barbecue, and all the entertainers on the strip would come to our house. Sometimes I would just be on stage and invite people for tomorrow's barbecue, and my wife would say, "You haven't told me that." But they came.
Wow. Wow, that's remarkable. Bobby, who are some of your big influences? Who are your influences, your mentors? Who made an impact on your life as a musician?
Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. taught me a lot.
What did he teach
I
you?
emulated Nat King Cole. I loved the way Frank Sinatra phrased and breathed when he sang.
Okay.
But Sammy told me a lot of things that stuck with me. Red Fox told me a lot of things I can't tell you.
Is there
but we
something
all hung out
that's
together,
clean
man.
that Sammy told you that you could share with us? Maybe about show
Say that
business?
again?
Is there anything that Sammy told you pertaining to show business that you could share with us?
The one thing that I'll never forget Sammy told me is that when you walk out on stage, make the audience feel comfortable. The first thing you say is, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have fun tonight." And I always did that.
Wow.
And I'll never forget that.
Wow. That's something else. That's something else. So when you compare the scene in Las Vegas, the scene in Cleveland, Meadville, Pennsylvania, what was your preference in terms of where the music was rich?
Well, let's go Meadville, Cleveland, Vegas. That was my ladder.
Yeah.
I stepped up the ladder from Meadville. Meadville was a very small town.
Okay.
You know how small it is. I know your people. So, and then when I went to Cleveland, I was just a stopping point. So when I got the opportunity to go to Vegas, I jumped at it. And I'll tell you why. I've always believed in divine destiny.
Okay.
And I was watching the Jerry Lewis telethon one night, and I was living in Cleveland, and a group called the Checkmates came on, and they were performing live from Nero's Nook and Caesar's Palace. And I've always believed, as I said, anytime I've asked God for anything, he gave it to me without hesitation. And I said, I would like to work that room. And 8 years later, I did.
Wow.
So I wanted to get out of Cleveland. I wanted to get out of Meadville. And I wound up where I wanted to be, Las Vegas. And I came in the front door, not the back door, which was great.
Sure.
But when we moved to Vegas, the segregation, housing and everything had just opened up so blacks could live everywhere.
Okay.
So we moved into a house on the outskirts of Vegas, and we were the first black family to move there.
Really?
Yes.
What was it like for you?
It was great for me, but my kids had a problem when they were going to school. They got their most problem from the black kids, not the white kids. No, because the black kids said, who do you think you are? Why are you living in this neighborhood? You think you're white people? That's where it was going on back in those days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
But we never had a problem.
Okay. All right. Bobby, when you look back on everything, what are you most proud of? Give me a couple of your favorite accomplishments.
My number one accomplishment is the family that Ruth and I have built. We started together in 1957. And here we are in 2022. We have 3 children. Hey, Ruth, how many grandkids we got? We have about 6 or 7 grandkids.
That's
and
beautiful.
We have 9 great grandkids.
I love that.
That's my biggest accomplishment.
Okay.
And other than that, everything I've ever asked for, the good Lord has given me. Okay. That's the best way I can answer that.
Absolutely, absolutely. What was your favorite music that you came out with? What moves you the most?
My favorite music?
Yeah.
The album that we did without little Anthony called Who's Gonna Love Me?
Yeah. And
that was the number 1 song in 1977 or 8. And Who's Gonna Love Me was big, very big in England and Europe and Japan. And there are a lot of songs on there. Well, all of them are part of my favorites because they were written for me.
Okay. Oh.
The tracks were, and the producer of that album was Tony Sylvester.
Okay.
From the Main Ingredients.
Oh, okay.
So I got to be very friendly with Tony and Cuba Gooding Sr.
Wow.
And Tony produced that album. That album was recorded in Marvin Gaye's studio in Hollywood.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and then we did another album. It was never released. It was called From My Heart, but there's some great songs on it. Only Me was one of them. One of the favorite of all times that I ever sang was a song called I Made It Through.
Okay.
And one of these days I'll try to get it to you.
I'd love that. Is there?
I took it. I took it and I put it on a CD.
You did?
Yeah.
Is there music that's unreleased that people haven't heard yet from Bobby Wade?
Yes, the album I'm talking about.
Okay, full album.
The unreleased album of From My Heart.
What year was that recorded?
1986.
86, okay. All right.
Yeah, very good songs. We pressed up a single called Only Me. and it was never released, but somebody's found it because you can hear it somewhere on YouTube or somewhere.
Okay. Okay.
But I found in our stories last week when we went back to Washington,
Yep.
I found in the storage bin a box of 45s of Only Me. I'll send you one.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. I'll send you a copy of it.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate that.
Then you can put it out there. Maybe we can make it a hit.
We can do that. We can do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just have a couple questions left. I promise you we'd go between 40 and 50 minutes tonight. I want to go back to Cleveland, though. I want to go back to this 45 here. We didn't talk about Can't You Hear Me Calling? And one of the things that really stood out to me on that is the instrumentation. That drum fill. Do you remember the drums on that record?
Yes, yes.
What do you remember about recording that song? Because there aren't many soul songs that have a drum fill like that, and it's very epic.
The drummer's name was Jerry Baxter. The arranger of that session, or all my sessions, was Willie King, I think his name was.
Okay.
And Jerry Baxter started that song, and then he had the horn line. The only thing I didn't care for about Can't You Hear Me Calling is the female voices were just a tad flat. But there was nothing we could do about it because the night we were recording that is the night that Martin Luther King was assassinated. So we stopped the session and we didn't go back for 2 weeks. But the background voices were already in and we couldn't get them back. So that's the only thing I didn't like about that song.
Who was doing the background vocals?
A group called The Occasions.
The Occasions.
Yeah.
Okay. So
they were on Way Out Records also.
So I was speculating that it was Verna who was doing the vocals for any of your backing tracks where it was a female, but it wasn't.
For Can't You Hear Me Calling?
Well, the vocal sounds very similar to Love You, right?
Well, here's the thing. The Occasions, which was 2 girls and a guy, but Bill sang falsetto. And they were the background singers for many of the acts on Way Out Records.
Okay, then that makes a lot of sense then because I can hear the similarities.
Yeah, yeah. But like I said, I did not know Vernon Robb. Never met him.
Right. So I gotta repeat this back to you so that I hear this properly. You said that the vocals were flat, but the night that you recorded it was the night that Martin Luther King was assassinated.
Yes.
And you left the studio that night, didn't come back for 2 weeks, and so the vocals were already locked in.
Yes.
Wow.
They were locked in. Excuse me. They were locked in, and then I went in and finished the lead vocal.
That is incredible. I don't think anybody's ever heard this stuff, Bobby.
I've never talked about it before.
Bobby,
let me tell you this. Here's the thing about all of my Way Out record recordings.
Okay.
I never performed them live. The only song that I ever performed live was Four Walls and a Window on a few club dates. Because shortly after I started with Way Out Records, I went with the New Direction, and then from there to Little Anthony and the Imperials. So I not totally, but I almost forgot about my Way Out Records recordings until someone called me, I want to say about 8-9 years ago, and said that they were doing an album called Eccentric.
Numero.
They bought the masters from Way Out Records, and they wanted to put 4 of my songs on there.
Yeah, that's the Numero
and there's
compilation.
Another, say again?
That is the Numero Records compilation. That's how a lot of us have come across Way Out Records, as well as your music.
Yes. And here's the thing, Don. Every 6 months, they send me a royalty statement. The last one was $3.96.
We got to fix that.
Yeah.
We got to fix that. So So, because this is what I was wondering. You said that you were performing when you were in Cleveland, but you weren't doing the Way Out songs.
No, I was working downtown, as I said, the French Quarters and the Theatrical Grill. As a matter of fact, I was working both clubs at the same time. I would do a set at the French Quarters from 8 to 9, and I would take a break, walk out the back door, down the hallway across the street to the Theatrical, and I'd do 9:15 to 10. Then I'd go back to the French Quarters and do, but so I was like an MC, because the French Quarters was a burlesque house. And I had 7 exotic dancers, and I was the comic relief between, and I would sing, sing jazz tunes and introduce the acts, and then I go downstairs and sing across the street.
Oh my gosh.
I paid my dues, but it was fun.
Wow, this is all incredible. I cannot believe that you said you forgot about your Way Out recordings.
Yeah, I did. Because when I got with Little Anthony Imperials, we started doing other stuff. I never performed them with the group. Matter of fact, they'd never even heard about them. They never heard of Four Walls and a Window until recently. Little Anthony heard it on Facebook or somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how to process all this.
But I wondered what happened to them, but there was no real royalties or anything. And then when social media started, YouTube, Facebook, all those things, then my music started to surface.
Really?
And that's when I became curious. So when you called me or you connected with me, I was very happy to hear from you.
That makes me happy.
There are other places that my songs have been heard, but you're the first person that wanted to hear my story.
Oh yeah. Oh man. I needed to know. Bobby, what else? What have I not asked you about Cleveland and Way Out that you could share with us? What did I miss?
I don't think you've missed anything, Don. I really don't think you've missed anything. I mean, we could do a series of interviews, man. Episode 2 comes up next week,
Well, we might have to do a part 2 because I'm having a hard time ending this live stream with you because I'm just trying to wrap my brain around everything that you've shared, and there's just got to be more. There's got to be more.
Well, there's more to tell. The problem, I'm just having such a problem hearing you, so we'll have to do it again, because there's more stuff we can talk about. But I keep feeling I have to lean in to hear you, and then if anybody's trying to see me, they're looking at my TW on my hat there. So
okay.
Oh, by the way, I can't play golf either.
Hey, Bobby, this is going to be my last question for tonight. Is there a quote or a mantra that you have embodied, throughout your life, throughout your musical career, that's meant a lot to you?
Say that part again.
Is there a quote or a mantra that means a lot to you in regards to your career as a musician?
Wow. You didn't put this on the test questions, man.
I didn't.
I don't know, man. Like I said, when I first went in, I felt that every ear on the planet could hear my songs. And one thing that Little Anthony said to me when I first joined the group was, "You're only as good as your last show."
Mm.
Yeah. So you can go on stage tonight and I'll give you a fine example. In the summer of 1978, the Imperials were the opening act for Bob Marley and the Wailers. The first night, we toured the whole summer with him. The first night we went on stage as the Imperials, we went on stage in Ann Arbor, Michigan, in our orange suits.
Oof.
And we got booed off the stage.
What?
Yes. So on the bus the next day, the guy said to me, "Bobby, what are we going to wear on stage tonight?" I said, "Whatever you have on now, whether it's shorts, tennis shoes, T-shirt, I don't care." We went on stage the next night in Chicago.
Yeah.
We got a standing ovation with the same show. So you see, you're only as good as your last show.
I love that.
And if you get booed on your last show, your next one better be better.
Yeah. Bobby,
Oh, my wife came in to remind me to tell you that we're working on
a book.
a book of our life together in
That's
our
beautiful.
entertainment series.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, I want to thank you so much for making time to join me. You know, this is something that's been going on now a couple months where you and I connected for the first time and
Yeah.
waiting to make this interview happen. I just can't say thank you enough. You have shared so much that will unlock a lot of questions that people have had about you as a musician, how certain things were done. And, you know, this is documented. It will live on forever and be seen by many people for many years to come. So
Yes.
we will do a part 2, but I just want to say thank you so much and give you the opportunity to say some parting words to our viewers before you leave.
I would like to thank you, first of all, Don, for giving me the opportunity to tell my story. And I'm not finished with the story yet. And I would like to thank everybody and anybody out there that's interested and liked those songs that I wrote from my heart way back in the day. And I'm just happy to know that I'm blessed enough for them to still be within the earshot of everybody on the planet. And I thank you all very much.
That's wonderful. Bobby, take care and have a great night. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, Don. God bless.
Take care, Bobby.
Bye-bye.
See ya. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Waxvillain, Seattle, Washington. We're out.